With so many different platforms,
TikTok, LinkedIn, YouTube,
and their purposes evolving daily, navigating social media can be, well, complicated. Welcome to the Social Media Sucks podcast from Kubbco.
Social media.
Where we unpack the latest trends and help remove the suck from social media.
Hi guys, welcome back to the Social Media Sucks podcast by Kubbco. So today we have a special guest with us from PlayStation.
That's right. You're the first guest, Dia.
First guest.
Wow.
Ever. So,
I feel very honored.
Yes, you should be. I think
Wow.
it's really cool that you're here.
Yes.
So thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me.
We're gonna talk a little bit about streaming, online gaming, all from a marketing perspective.
Yeah.
So I hope you gain some valuable knowledge along the way. And let's just start.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about your field of work. So
What
our
do you
listeners
do?
can
How
get
do you
a
do
little
it?
bit background.
Yes.
Of course. So I work at PlayStation, sit in the marketing team. I'm sort of in charge of all paid media and marketing analytics
Cool.
across the whole Nordics. So I
Nice.
work in a Nordic team, and with my marketing managers, we run loads of campaigns, and I oversee all the media of it. And of course, all the marketing analytics insights that we get from our consumers, from the PlayStation itself. You know, we know what people are playing and how long.
Okay.
And we look at that and sort of implement it into our campaigns.
Really? So you can actually see how long people are playing games
Yeah.
and what games they're playing
Yeah.
and actually adjust your marketing to fit that.
Yeah.
That's cool. I think that's really neat. I think a lot of brands want to do that, to look at the content that people are consuming and adjust along the way. And I think it's something we work on a lot with brands, but it's definitely the dream scenario. So that's
Of course,
cool.
data is everything, isn't it?
Yeah, at this point it is, right? So, okay, so you're doing that. And is it all media? Is it like paid social, also like display,
Yeah.
banners, like
So
all
everything
all
out
digital?
of out of home, all media, pretty much.
Right.
So everything from out of home to digital. And we're very digital focused in our marketing, especially here in the Nordics. We're very digital savvy. So of course, high percentage of our marketing is digital.
Right. And how much would you say is like social versus out of home still, or social versus even like display or Google search or?
Well, I'd say if we look at digital, I think somewhere around 30% would be in social.
Okay, that's great.
Well,
Yeah.
this leads us very naturally to what is streaming. I guess that's where most of you influencers are found, right? Or
or something else. Yeah.
something else.
We do have streaming influencers on Twitch and YouTube, but we actually have a lot of lifestyle influencers, and we use Instagram a lot.
Yeah,
because
okay.
although PlayStation is
Exactly,
gaming, it
that's-
is quite broad.
Yeah, it's very ubiquitous.
yeah.
There's so many people that are gaming.
And of course, we have our hardcore gamers influencers, and we use Twitch and YouTube for that. But most of our influencer activity actually is on
lifestyle.
Instagram. Of course,
Inspiration.
and they use Instagram quite a
Right.
lot, but of course also YouTube.
Okay.
Yeah, of course. I think there's a lot of, I can just know from my son, who is a gamer, I would call him, because he's playing games almost every day for a couple of hours. The amount of YouTube content that he consumes when it comes to games is insane. Like, it's just, he's either playing a game and watching YouTube at the same time, or, whenever he's on his phone, he's on some YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Right. And there's a lot of, YouTube's done a great job of also leaning into that community and supporting it and stuff like that. And it's interesting to see also Facebook trying to get into that. They haven't been that successful
No.
at it. Obviously, Twitch is massively successful at it. And then there's the platform that Ninja came off of. I can't even remember.
Steam?
Was it Steam's? I don't remember. But it's funny. You also see a lot of other brands that are popping up in this gaming sort of streaming sort of world. But how do you see streaming playing out in the next few years? Like, is it going to be a big part of your marketing, or do you think that it's something that you sort of are watching, or what do you think is going on?
Well, I think it's growing.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people, a lot of brands are opening their eyes for streaming and gaming within streaming. Streaming is a lot of thing, but specifically if you look into gaming on Twitch and YouTube, the influencers that are streaming on there just have a huge reach, and so much engagement in there, and if you can sort of get away into that as a brand, I think it will be growing, but I don't think it's for everyone. So it's sort of how can you get in there, and I think a lot more people are opening up to it. I think they're looking ahead. I think it will expand, but I think a lot of companies right now are sort of looking to see how can we get into the gaming market, because it doesn't just help to put a gaming sticker on your product and then you're sort of just catching that target group that everyone wants to reach.
Right.
You sort of had to really make sure that
your brand speaks with this kind of universe, because it's a large community, and there's a lot of engagement, like you said, within the community. And for brands, how do you see brands capitalize on this world?
Well, I think it is just to make sure that the match is there, or if not, make the right angle for it.
Yeah.
And from a marketing perspective, from my position where I said, I of course see streaming, and that it's a great place to place your ads. Whenever people see streams,
it's not necessarily about being on the platform.
No.
It's also about it's a media that you can be a part of.
Contextually targeting people, and when they're in the stage where they're streaming, they might be open to see some PlayStation content. But also, I think sponsoring events, gaming events, etc. Just looking at, I think we should look into the sporting area. How brands are sponsoring sport, like football.
Yeah.
How brands really want to get into that. I think that could be a way that brands will go into gaming, because it's growing so much. And then especially here in the situation that we have now with Corona, everything can be done digitally easily.
Of course.
Right.
It's a big scene to get into that.
Esports is coming up because real sports is going down in some ways.
Yeah. Then, way to use their influencers, partnering up with them, sponsoring events.
Yeah.
And of course, normal ads on the streaming platforms. I think we're going to see much more of it, and I think we're going to see it growing a lot in the future.
So if you're a boring coffee brand and you just want to sponsor somebody or do some product placement, instead of being the coffee brand that does gaming, which might not fit with your brand, you can also just do either product placement or ad placement or things like that, right?
Yeah.
So, and I think also coffee, from a generational standpoint, is probably losing a little bit of steam with the younger crowd. So maybe it's time that some big coffee brands okay, we want to go into streaming or sponsor an esport team or something like that. Yeah,
they need the caffeine anyways, right?
And right now the energy drinks are sort of winning that, aren't they?
They are winning that,
exactly.
and this is the original energy drink.
Because I think, and also for brands, because of course gaming and the whole streaming had sort of a stereotypical type to it, and in the beginning of it, it was boys sitting in the mom's basements, and
it's much different
now it's so broad and it's so wide, and I think brands can see that it's opening up, and but I think someone like energy drinks like Red Bull, Monster, really they got there first. They were the one to really sponsor the gaming communities. Red Bull and Ninja has got a really cool collaboration, and Monster just really dominating the PC gaming events.
Are they?
Yeah.
So that's their angle. So they're not really into the consoles; they're into the PCs.
Well, I think it's very much like the PC.
The crew there.
Yeah, they're going into.
Yeah, but I think you're right in a sense. It's opening up, and we actually connected a little bit on, politics aside, the whole AOC thing.
Yeah.
Where that was kind of came out of nowhere and really. I think that hopefully opened up a lot of brands' eyes into, this is something more than just a Twitch or just a platform where people stream their gaming. This is a place where people actually connect.
Yeah.
And I think we're a social media agency, so I think that, all media is kind of social in some ways now. And so I'm really pushing that hard with a lot of people that I work with, is that media is, it has to be social or it doesn't really work anymore. And I think this particular social media, Twitch, and for those of you at home who don't know, but basically AOC, the politician, the Democratic politician in the US, she announced that she wanted to play on Twitch, with somebody. They wanted to play, what was the game?
Among Us.
Among Us, which has been very, very popular. And she just reached out on Twitter, and then like all of these famous streamers and famous people were like, yeah, I'll play with you. And like, it just went, I think it's the biggest streaming ever.
Yeah.
Right. So it's the biggest stream ever. And that's just incredible. I think that really is a watershed moment in gaming and in streaming in general. And I think we're going to see more of that. So,
and a good example of how much engagement it can drive, right? To this community.
And how to tap into like a completely different target group that they can usually do through broad mass media. You know, we're always talking about how to reach this specific target group, especially young males and younger generation, really. And, you know, places like Twitch is just a really good place to do it. And I think the AOC example, it's really good case, but not every politician can just do that. She can do that because she's her, and she's already done something a bit like it. I think she is quite active on I don't want to say this, but a Nintendo Switch. She likes to play. I think it's...
We can bleep that out, right?
Yeah.
Who?
Don't go there.
Who are you talking about?
Beep it, censor it.
I don't remember the name of it. It's Animal Crossing or Animal Kingdom. Okay. You know, I don't really care about Nintendo. So
no, exactly.
They have a game.
Who does, really? I mean,
and she plays it. And so it's quite natural for her to go onto that. Even though she hadn't played it, it was such a good fit. And the way she just normal...
Yeah, Nintendo would be the way that it goes, right? Like, for her, in some ways, like, it kind of fits.
Yeah, to that game, I think.
Yeah,
and how sense. she just made it work, and naturally had a conversation with, you know, a guy in Ireland, I think, about, you know, free healthcare, and it just worked out really well, and it's just a good way to connect with.
I think gaming is actually that thing. I mean, I see my son playing it a lot, and also I have like, it is if a game isn't social in some ways, if it doesn't have that sort of multiplayer Fortnite style or even FIFA's, like you're playing online against other people, like, do you find that like the games in general have to be social or they don't work? And do you guys use that social aspect in your marketing at all, or is it more just like, this is a cool game, this is a cool console? Like, what do you guys focus on?
Well, there's social gaming and games like Fortnite that, you know, is really popular. It's not our main focus. It's not our first party software, and the games that we usually launch is more one player.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Especially what we have as our first party. So The Last of Us or Spider-Man even.
Right.
You know, it is not multiplayer games.
Right.
And, you know, we work with gaming publishers like Activision and who does Call of Duty, and that has a social aspect to it, and that's really popular as well. And you know, it's two different things. Like the people who play Call of Duty, you know, it's fast paced, are not the people who sit and really indulge themselves in an open world sort of game like The Last of Us or Red Dead or something like that.
I'm more in that camp.
Yeah.
Like, even though I'm a social guy, I like to just immerse myself in a world and be like, okay, I'll play Red Dead for 2 hours or whatever and just like play the storyline of it. Yeah. Which I think is much more fun.
But we also see that as two completely different target groups.
Yeah. Do you think the younger ones are going more towards social gaming? Yeah. Or is it split or?
It is, but even though we as we know from the console, we also see that people who really like to play one-player game and really that sort of category of games, you know, they'll take a game of FIFA as well or Fortnite. But I think you're either one or the other.
Oh, really? So you see that in the demographics?
Yeah, I think if you want to like you pick one.
Okay, that's interesting.
Even though you target them differently, or how would you target these kind of different personas?
You can do it by the games they play, I guess. But
we have some first party data we can use to sort of target them. But we also have like insights because we make segmentations of our gamers, and we know they're a bit different, and we call them our connoisseurs, you know, the ones who really like playing these games and really indulge themselves into it. Right. They act differently than the people who like to play FIFA. Yeah. But it's not that much different. No. But we do see a bit of change, and of course we try to target them.
Yeah, I would assume, but it's probably the wrong assumption that the older target audience likes the old school, not old school, but like the single player type of thing, and the younger crew likes the more multiplayer. But I'd probably be wrong in that, right? Isn't it like all over the place?
I think it's all over the place. Yeah. But I do think something like Fortnite and the social aspect to it makes it a lot easier for younger kids to get into it. They can play with their friends. Yeah. And especially now, it's a really good thing. You can play with your friends online and don't have to see each other.
Right. It's really helping, right, during these times, right?
Yeah.
Do you see any split on the gender side? Like, is it, I guess you guys target mostly young males, but there must be a growing trend of female players, right?
Yeah,
a big growing trend.
We don't really target males specifically. We also, it's more like a 50-50. When we look into our data, it is male skewed, but it's not really heavily skewed.
No.
Can you tell us a little bit more about the personas, maybe?
Well, we just sort of look into, our core gamers and just sort of and we have sort of more of a base gamers, the people who once in a while turn on the PlayStation and play whenever there's a game they like. But we also have the gamers who play 3 hours a day.
Right.
The true gamers and yeah.
So there's like casual gamers.
Yeah.
As you call them, I guess, like most
gamers.
people call them, and then you'd call like the gamers. And I guess both have some sort of differences in how they approach games, and I guess they buy less games.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and of course our hardcore gamers are connoisseurs or what we call them.
And it's hard to talk to those guys, I think. Like, I actually had a conversation with somebody else at PlayStation not too long ago, and I won't name any names. And one of the things he was mentioning was that, one of the hard things about advertising towards these groups is that you have to be in the know.
Yeah.
Like, you really you can't, like, if you don't understand the target, you're screwed, because you will be talking like to a brick wall because you don't understand the nuances of how they talk or how they, so you really have to be in the culture, I think, of it, right? So I guess that's for every brand, but I think more and more specifically for a PlayStation or a gaming brand, you really have to know your shit, or else they're going to be like, who's doing their social media or who's doing their ads?
Yeah.
Because they don't understand us at all.
So I'm faking it along the way, because I don't know.
Yeah, you don't. No. Well, you're buying media, right? So you're doing a little bit different, right? But I guess
the guys who are speaking to them directly, our social media managers, they know their stuff because they have to, and our community managers as well.
So it's a combination of hardcore data and then community management, because you have to activate those influencers. Yeah. And to find these influencers, you kind of have really to know the communities and what communities they represent, and kind of that's why we need to know the different kind of personas, right? Yeah. In able to activate the communities.
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting. Do you have any tips and tricks for brands that would like to further involve themselves into this kind of market?
Well, it's difficult because it's so easy for us to get into the gaming communities.
Of course.
But it's also a bit difficult because, we're sort of, it's like using the football analogy again, we're like the shoe they play with. How, other than them using our product, it's how do we get them to make content of the game they're playing that isn't just the game they're playing or a picture of the DualSense or DualShock or whatever they're playing with. Exactly. But I think for other brands, I think I mentioned it before, but finding the angle of it, because I think the audience there, they're really picky. Then they're gonna know if it doesn't match, and it won't match. Right. So finding a cool, good angle, and don't just go into gaming because everyone else is doing it. Right. Do it because it makes sense.
Yeah.
Because it is.
You have a somewhat natural fit.
Yeah, or at least try to find some way to do it. Like.
Right.
Find a narrative.
Like banking, mortgage might not be the thing to promote in
really?
there.
For that segment, it is.
Yeah.
What? For that segment, maybe if there's like a game that's a little bit more about money.
Yeah.
I don't know. Or maybe it makes sense, like, because there is so many. Actually, that's kind of funny to think about, because you could find an angle in a sense of
Monopoly
when you're spending, because you are spending in-game dollars.
Yeah.
A lot of times, right? So there could be a natural product placement where, Danske Bank owns the bank within a game, or that's kind of funny, right? Or of course. Or Visa, like Visa is where you pay stuff or
buy stuff within the
your
game.
first Visa is digital. That's kind of funny.
Then maybe ethics goes a bit into it. They're younger kids.
Yeah, exactly.
we don't want stories how they use their parents' Visa.
No, but it could be like your
buy
first
in-game.
So Visa, if you're listening, there's an idea for you. Listen, you want to have your first credit card in a game.
Yeah.
They can just buy it off of on some sort of store, the PlayStation store. The virtual Visa in PlayStation store. There you go. Free idea.
Actually,
good idea, right?
Yeah.
Come on. No.
We actually do in-game advertising sometimes.
Yeah.
Which is also another way to get into it. For
cigarettes and beer and
yeah. But we do like for mobile games and what else we can buy. We buy display in the game. That's actually quite a cool thing. So if the game is placed in a city or something, we will be on the billboards in there, and that's because
that's quite cool.
Yeah.
They're in the universe anyway. We might as well advertise in there, and I think that if you find it difficult to find the right match with a partnership or something, that could be a way, because it's just an exposure, I guess, just like a display banner, but it's in the game, and it's just a cool gimmick, I think. And
there's a lot of dimensions into that, actually.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah, and I think also we've seen on the advertising side deeper sort of stuff, like, for example, at Easter time, Cadbury made like a sort of a virtual Easter egg hunt within Fortnite.
Yeah.
And like, I think there's opportunities there as a brand to do stuff. And I think that's sort of, some of that's missed opportunities that brands are just not thinking about it in a bigger way. Like, how could we do something cool in game that's not, I mean, it's very cool to have a display within it, but also on a deeper level, doing content of some kind.
Yeah.
Right. So
I think there's someone who, I can't remember the name of it, someone did a concert in Fortnite at some point.
Yeah, Travis Scott, and also Marshmello has done it.
They did it. And then
that Travis Scott thing was insane.
Was it like Tenet or something who revealed the trailer? I can't remember. It's the Warner Brother movies of some sort. Yeah. They revealed like a trailer in game in Fortnite, and there was like a big like countdown to it and stuff. Yeah, that's that's really cool.
That's where you're mixing the culture and like what's going on outside into it, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's also where brands need to play, like releasing a Nike shoe, like avatars can get the shoe before anybody else, or whatever. I think that we're going to see much more of that. I think it's just going to come through a lot, right?
Yeah.
And of course, if you then partner up with some streamers and say, okay, the streamers is going to wear the shoes at the same time they're playing the game with the shoes or whatever it is, or drinking the coffee, or you know what I mean?
So layer.
Yeah, you can add some layers in, and I think you'll see much more creativity that way. So it's going to be exciting.
But even if you go beyond the gaming and the streaming, I think, and if your brand doesn't really fit in the gaming, there are plenty of other streamers that do this game.
Like DIY streamers.
Go into Twitch. There's so many like cooking and singing and everything.
Yeah.
There are opportunities to tap into it, and it doesn't have to be hardcore gaming.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
And there are a lot of cool cases of that. Twitch do a lot of cool branding partnerships with their streamers.
Yeah, I think Twitch has been the best, and I think, I mean, well, YouTube's obviously done a good job as well, but I'm thinking that Twitch is the winner at this point on the streaming market. But yeah, let's see where it goes. I'm very excited to watch that. Yeah, we haven't done any streaming on Twitch, but maybe we should try.
Yeah, but
we can go live with the podcast
on Twitch. I guess that's what you do. Like, it's like sporting events go live, and then some people are just commentating it. Like.
Yeah, I know Spotify is also in the game, right? Yeah. With podcast streaming, Joe Rogan, right? That'll just like, I think most brands or most platforms are going to go the streaming route. I actually I was looking at some of the ad formats from Twitter. I don't know if you've ever done this, but for $500,000, you can basically own the streaming on Twitter for your event.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Okay. So if you want to like just like
to spend.
dominate Twitter with your live stream, you've got $500,000, you can do it. And I thought that's an interesting ad product. Like, I never thought like you could, because then like basically anybody that logs in, it's going to be the first thing they see, right? So if we're talking about millions of people.
But thinking about how many brands sit with like events budget that they can use these days because of Corona, you know,
do it on
why not? You know, they're trying to sort of launch different things and make big cultural moments digitally. Something like that is ideal. And people
drop $500,000 on it and then they get it, right?
Or for bigger brands that might be peanuts in the US or something.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, exactly. I mean, it's going to cost you $10 million for a Super Bowl ad.
Yeah, you might as well.
Maybe you want to drop $500,000 on a YouTube a Twitter stream.
Yeah.
And then you kind of capture a large audience, right? So yeah, cool.
Why do you guys think? I mean, gaming, this whole universe phenomenon is not new, but why do you guys think there's still a little bit hesitation with the brand jumping in, like tapping into this opportunity? Because usually we see a lot of brands just dive right into new platforms or whatever, utilize these new kind of phenomenons. Why do you guys think brands might hesitate on using streaming and gaming?
Well, I think in the beginning, they thought it was very niche. I think they thought it was very
some do,
like
right?
TikTok,
still some
right?
do, yeah. They're and it's always scary to do something new as a big brand, and a lot of companies probably sit with a lot of corporate rules and regulations, but it's slowly opening up. But I do think it's because they thought it was very niche, and why should they partner up with that? Should they why are they
it's
the
for
right
kids
fit?
Or it's like it hasn't really occurred to them that it's so ubiquitous.
Yeah.
That it is a viable channel. Yeah, I think we see this with almost everything that is a cultural phenomenon at the start.
Yeah.
Like rock music or skateboarding or X Games. Like it was, you start really small with a niche group, and then all of a sudden some stuff just becomes pop culture, and some stuff. And I think gaming right now is hitting that pop cultural moment where it's just everywhere. And the AOC thing that we talked about before, it's a clear example of this thing just becoming something that is so for everybody that it's now it's almost too late to get in. It might be at the tipping point where it's like, oh shit, we should have done this like 3 years ago. But I think it'll open up. I think a lot of brands will jump in now.
Yeah.
So,
ask your agencies how to capitalize on these opportunities.
Oh, is that a plug? Ask your agency.
Ask your agency. See the potential.
Don't ask your agency. Ask us. What are you talking about? Okay.
So Dea, you worked on both sides from a brand with the digital marketing, right? Both from agency side and from the brand side. Could you tell us a little bit more about the different variations of working from two different sides?
Well, yes. I have to be careful what I say now, but all agency people
Spill
out there.
it. Spill it.
No, I really like working in the agencies, and of course it's fast paced, and you work with a lot of clients, and you get to try a lot of things. But working on the branding side, on the brand sides, you get to deep dive into much more of your stuff, and everyone who works at an agency knows that you're pretty much putting out fires all the time.
Really? You don't say.
And it's just nice to really, just focus on one product and just really thinking about all the opportunities within that product, and just
you get to go deeper, much deeper, right? Yeah.
That's really nice, and a good change at some point. And it's just nice to be on the other side of the table, I guess.
Yeah.
I told you guys before how having been on an agency, you learn to talk bullshit. So that's always a good.
We never talk bullshit.
No,
never.
Not you guys.
No, we're very non-bullshit.
No bullshit.
No bullshit.
Policy here.
Yeah. No, but you're right. I think there's a lot of
lingo.
There's a lot of lingo, and I think there's a lot of
excuses.
No. But I think we have a very transparent agency, but I think there's a lot of, you also have to sell some stuff, right? And sometimes clients, you have to convince them. And there's a little bit of okay, because you don't know. None of us have a crystal ball to say, this ad's going to work. I don't know if it's going to work. I can predict it might be working, but at the end of the day, it comes down to a lot of different factors. So I think that's where, as an agency owner, sometimes we have to do a lot of convincing to say, hey, this is a good strategy. This is going to work. And you could call that a little bit of BS, because the truth is nobody knows. But I think that's where sometimes we also say to our clients, we have no idea. It might work. Right?
But it's a matter of seeing potential in it and try it out.
Yeah, but I totally agree with you. When you're on the brand side, and if you've worked on the agency side, you can kind of smell when they're trying to sell you too hard on something. It's is this a real product on your shelf, or is this something that's sort of a dream ship in the air, right? So I think you're right in that sense.
No,
what do you think could be the forces with the agency?
I was just gonna. Do you mean if I worked in an agency or the brand? Because I was just gonna say I work really close with my agency on the strategies, and I don't think they bullshit on that because I'm a part of it. So we work on it together and make sure that the strategy is on point and everything is running. And I think one of the strengths of having worked in an agency is for me to sort of communicate out to my stakeholders internally how the processes sometimes works, why something doesn't go live in 5 minutes, all the processes that is within an agency. And it's not just whenever we have our social media manager just push something live. There are more processes when you're in an agency because it's a big house, and I think that's
a lot of people.
That's a strength from having worked at one, and of course being able to also call out when something isn't the way it should be. I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's. I think also having the perspective, because I've done both sides as well. I've worked for client side and I've also worked on agency side, and I think one of the things that I've noticed working on that side or working on the client side and then working with an agency is that there's a lot of leverage a brand can have if they really understand the process. If they understand like how things are done, you can actually streamline things very, very well and can actually slim down the process quite dramatically, because you're not like worried about strategy check-ins all the time, and there's less like if you can pull the insights yourself, like there's a lot to be gained from that, because I think a lot of people rely on their agencies to give them those insights, and that's also where there's room for some bullshit, because they can kind of media agencies or any kind of agencies can kind of say, well, here's the results, but data is very subjective in some ways. Like you can really, you can spin something a certain way if you know how to spin it a certain way, and it's not so clear. It's not so cut and dry. Like you don't have all the layers of why something is working and why it's not. So I think that's where there's a lot of, at least I've seen a lot of BS, is like, because you can basically spin it and say, this is doing great. But then when you really look at it, you're like, wait a second, how come we have like 1,000 clicks from Pakistan on this on this ad campaign when we were, not targeting that at all?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of that sort of stuff that you need to sift through. And if you have experience with that, then it's great, because then you can go in and be like, no, guys, I need what's reality here? Let's go deeper. And find those numbers or find that data that makes sense. So I think you're absolutely right there. So you've seen both sides.
I always try to, with my agency, always try to tell me when things are bad. So I think it's a strength that agency, this is not working, instead of trying to hide it, walk around it and not really say, and like just say if it's not bad and say that we're changing it, because it makes us better. That's the whole thing. Like
it has to be that way. And with digital media,
say you try something, say it didn't work. That's the way we're gonna learn. If we just try to hide the truth in some way that let's talk about click rate or something. Just let's
exactly.
Just tell me if it's not working and let's fix it, and let's do something else. Let's pivot from it.
Of course. That also depends on the client and the brand also, I guess.
Yeah, for sure.
Do you have a setup where you guys can pivot pretty easy? Because we find that a lot of customers come to us because we do content and paid in the same house. So we're able to, like, if a piece of content's not working, we can see right away and then change it. Are you guys able to do that?
Not really. We don't have that much content. I mean, we don't create it ourselves. We get everything from our global team, and it is the content that usually is the games. So that's pretty much what we have. So it's more the strategy that we can change.
Targeting.
Targeting.
Where are you putting the media spend?
Something not working, let's pivot from that. Or
what about the influencer marketing? The ambassador you use, there would be a separate strategy for them, or is it?
That's much more local.
Okay.
I think so.
We're pretty much tied up to global strategy and stuff on the marketing side, because it's easy to align. A lot of our media is also being bought from Central, from a hub in London. Unfortunately, we don't have that here in Denmark. We're allowed to do it. In the Nordics, we can do it ourselves, but a lot of other territories are run from one place.
Oh, really?
So all biddable media is just bought in our media agency in London.
Yeah.
Which luckily we don't have that, so we can actually look in more into the strategies and pivot and deep dive into them.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So that's okay. So that's been your experience on the working from both sides. And do you have any advice for somebody maybe on the agency side that wants to work for a brand? What would be the number one tip you have for them?
Be good at your job.
Tell the truth.
Tell the truth.
Tell the truth in a good way. I think brands in some way, and when you send the client, the brand side, it's good to hear the truth, and because then we can change something. It's easy to work around the truth, and just try to find the client you want and sort of work your way into that. And
so if you want to work on the brand side, it's all about, like, if you're at an agency, finding a good client,
and get the competences,
and then work your way in.
Kubbco
employees that are listening, disregard all of this. Do not go work for a brand. Stay here forever. No, but I get that. I mean, I think that's like you said before the podcast. You were like, okay, that's been definitely a lot of people in media agencies have a dream to actually go on the brand side, and that was sort of what you did, right?
Yeah, you have the ability to build up great competences because everything is so fast paced, and you get to experience so many different things, and you learn quick, and you stay updated with the newest trends and everything in that specific area of the agency, whether it be media or creative. You just learn a lot, and you learn fast, and it's a good way to build up competences that you can then use on the brand side if that's what you want, and not that you can't stay on the agency. But if you do want to go on the branding side, agencies are a great way in because there's so many aspects of it, whether it be insights or the actual buying or the creative part of it. I
think brands also want to scoop up people from agencies. I know that was like I've done both. I've done client side and agency side. And I think when I went client side, that was one of the key things that got me the job, because the brands that I sort of were hired by were like, oh, you've got agency experience, perfect, because they knew that was a good, like you said, minor league for building up competencies really quickly and being able to provide a different kind of perspective, right? So I totally agree with you. I often tell people, like, do both, like work brand side, work agency side, because you really get those two perspectives, and it'll really help you in your career, right? To wear those two shoes, to understand, like, what are their pains, what are your pains, like all that kind of stuff. Would you ever work agency side again?
Yeah.
And what's sort of the criteria that you look at?
That I don't have to time register. No, no, of course not.
Why? What's wrong with time registering?
I think working at agency is great. It's great fun, and like I said, it's fast paced. Everything's you learn to be so agile, and it's fun. It's fun to work in an agency because if you get bored with something easily, it's easy. You just move on to the next thing. Yeah. But if you're sort of missing, deep diving into something and just focusing on one brand and just being really good at that, brand side is a good place to be. But if you want to be sort of more of an all-around player, agency is great.
Yeah, you kind of have to kind of wear many hats.
Yeah, but that's fun. Like every day's different. You get a new client, you learn so much about a new product, and then the next day it's something different. Of course, there is things that are the same.
So if you want to work for a brand, it's good because you get to go deeper into what you're doing and how does it affect the business, which I think is also really cool because you get to see that. And then you don't have to time register if you go work for a brand, typically. So that's
depends
nice.
on what brand, I guess. Like there's also huge corporate companies that also kind of have the workflow of an agency, right? When we scale up.
Yeah. And actually one thing, having worked with the agency, that I try to do with my agency is also to be more transparent from our side, because that's something I missed when I was in the agency. So the campaign we just run, how did it actually affect business? How did it affect
sometimes
sales?
You're missing that on the agency side to see how it goes.
So because you're so on to the next thing. So I really try to give the information that I can give, of course, everything that's that's not too confidential. I want to give to my agency so they know how it actually went, and give them the insights that I have, so they can. I think if you have the agency much closer to you, you can get a better strategy, and they have a better understanding of you as a client, and that just works much better.
100% agree. I think that's also been lacking on the sort of agency client relationship for many years, is that last mile of data, or last mile of insights, is really critical to building the business, but also like building the client relationship, because you can really see, okay, where can we improve and what can we do next time? So that's cool. Okay. Great.
I think that's it.
That's the last question?
That's the last question.
Okay, but we have a giveaway.
Okay.
Or not a giveaway. Well, we do have a giveaway, but should we do both? So Dia is getting a very nice, let's give her the gift here.
Oh, it's heavy. Okay.
It's heavy.
It's heavy.
What's in there? Is it a PlayStation 5?
It's not released yet. Well,
it's not released yet. Dang.
So.
On the 19th.
Okay.
On the 19th. November the 19th, everybody. No product placement.
Yeah.
Nobody's paid for this ad. If you'd like to win this PlayStation 3, though, can I give away the PlayStation 3? Yeah, if you'd like to win this PlayStation 3, comment, rate this podcast, and comment on YouTube, and we will send you this PlayStation 3 with not only FIFA 9 and FIFA 10, not only FIFA 11, but also FIFA 12. Sports champions I'm keeping, so you can't have that. But if you'd like to win this PlayStation 3 with all 4 of these games, comment below and review.
And then we have, as a thank you for coming and sharing all your knowledge with us, we would like to give you this very nice Social Media Sucks tote bag. And inside it, we usually have candy stuffed inside it. But
what's in it today?
Today there is a little t-shirt.
That's nice.
Cool.
It really looks small though. And a cap.
Well, that's not a cap, that's a beanie.
Oh.
That's actually
nice.
That's Legacy Kubbco.
Oh.
And a little sticker.
Wow.
Maybe there's more stickers actually. And of course.
Oh, nice. A bottle of wine.
Of course.
Do you drink wine?
You guys know me so well already.
Weight
of my heart.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, but thank you so much for, and of course the tote bag, yes. Thanks so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. And I hope you guys listening at home enjoyed that and got some great insights from Dia here. And we'll see you guys next time on the next podcast. Yeah. We're going to talk to Christopher, the global social media manager for Hummel Sports. If you guys know Hummel, it's a great shoe brand that is very well known in Denmark and Northern Europe and making its way across the world. And we're going to talk to him, and we will see you guys next week on the Social Media Sucks podcast.
See you next time.
See you next time. Bye.
This has been the Social Media Sucks podcast.